on the low end of the market, there's some more like DIY solutions out there for cost seg, and basically it'll do like more average based and not looking at each property as an individual asset. So I think that's the number one kind of main issue. And then the second one is just being super aggressive with positioning.
What about audit? So obviously this is all like IRS friendly, but if the IRS is auditing a return and that investor or person has done a cost segregation study, what should the study have? Like, what would cause some red flags for the IRS when they're reviewing it?
So I think the number one thing is there's something called like a statistical sampling. Like, this is kind of in the weeds, but essentially on the low end of the market, there's some more like DIY solutions out there for cost seg, and basically it'll do like more average based, like a typical single family home gets X, Y, and Z for benefit, and not looking at each property as an individual asset. So I think that's the number one kind of main issue. And then the second one is just being super aggressive with positioning. Like, we've seen clients provide us previous studies where they got like 45% or something, like, and the IRS looks for like inconsistencies. Like, if they say, all right, we have all this data on multifamily properties, and typically they're between 25 and 30%, but yours says 50%. Like, what the hell? What do you have in there? Like, like golden, I don't know, like flooring. Or I think that's the big one. Like, you don't want to be a massive outlier,
right?
And then you just want to have really strong document. So essentially, the form you get as part of a cost seg is a long PDF. That's the standard, and we provide that. But you want to, an IRS agent asks for the cost seg, because the cost seg doesn't actually go with your tax return. It's just like a work paper for your tax return. So they ask for it. You want to have just really strong documentation around, this is how the cost seg was done. This is a breakdown of like the assets within the property, and we'll show like kind of like there was 5,000 square feet of carpet, whatever, and then some kind of documentation of the actual property. So like photos. For us, on certain properties, we'll actually have like a 3D scan of the interior of a property. So I think having that level of detail is key. And I think as long as the firm is engaged to do the cost seg study, is following the proper methods, like, there's nothing to be really scared of with the cost seg. It's just if people are trying to take shortcuts or just being really aggressive is where you can get into trouble. So but I mean, I think the good news is this is a tax deferral strategy, so it's not like a credit, for instance, which are way more heavily looked at. So it is moving like existing depreciation or expense just forward. You're not creating new expense, essentially.
Right.